3, 2, and 1. I believe we are live. I believe we are. I think so. And we have it jury rigged. Yeah. I think we're 47 minutes late, and I just realized we have it so jury rigged. I just realized I need to turn my phone on do not disturb or something, so that we don't lose anything here. Let's see here. It's reconnecting, of course. Let's see. Do not disturb is on. I think we're good to go. We'll give it a second here. We'll see if it's going to work. It's reconnecting. So anyway, my name is Micah McCurry. You're watching Micah McCurry Live number 10. You can hear the beeping in the background. That is we're on WhatsApp, screen sharing my phone because that's the only thing that works well. Okay, let's try this again here. Let's see. Not answered. I wonder if his phone just died. Let's see here. Let's see if it will work. You still there?
My goodness.
Hey,
I'm here. Yeah.
One of these days. I think.
Just persevere.
Hey, you just got to push through sometimes. So, anyway, my name is Micah McCurry. You're watching Micah McCurry Live number 10. I am with missionary Mike Schmidt in Brazil. So, tell us what's going on there. It's hot. It's humid. You basically, we know it's a third world country because you don't have internet. We can't even live with this. What's the deal? So, what's going on there, Brother Schmidt? You still there? Is the audio working for you?
No, I'm still on the internet from across the street. Literally, okay. There's a router we set outside of the missionary's house, and it's just I'm getting it whatever I can here. You go sit outside and it dropped you.
Well, it is.
You walk closer to the internet.
Okay. Well, he's gonna have to brave the mosquitoes to do that, and so he's really. He's taking one for the team here.
I end up with a thousand bite marks that we're itching all night.
Well, just run around fast, and the mosquitoes can catch up with you.
Yeah.
What we'll do is we will not take too much of your time, Brother Schmidt. I greatly appreciate.
No, that's fine.
It's hilarious. On Tuesday, we did a test for just this very reason, just to make sure. We wanted to make sure what's the connection going to be like, and guess what? That's how it goes. You're working with live
for 20 minutes, and it was great.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, well, I appreciate you taking the time to be with us, and you're a missionary in Brazil. You are, you've only been there for what, a month and a half now?
Yeah, just over a month.
Okay, very cool. And so you have about 2 months left. Is that right?
2 months left, yeah.
Okay. And you're on a survey trip right now. God recently moved you in this direction. You were a youth pastor at South Norwood Baptist Church. Is actually where my parents go to church, and so we appreciate that.
Yeah.
But kind of not to jump right into it, but just in case we do lose you, talk us through God moving in your heart from being a youth pastor and for multiple years. And what was it, 8 years? Is that right?
Yeah, 8.5.
Okay.
Going on 9.
Okay, so almost a decade there as a youth pastor, and God moved in your heart to completely different. It wasn't like you're going to another church to be youth pastor.
Right.
But I mean, God kind of moves like that. So how did that happen for you?
All right, so honestly, in my mind, I was going to be in youth ministry. I mean, I don't know, just forever. I know at some point I'd have been too old to do anything, so that probably wouldn't have happened. But in my mind, I'm thinking, no, I'll just do this forever. And probably back in July, we came here with our church on a missions trip, and it's not like I got burdened for the people pre-burdened before I got called. I just was sitting here, got up one morning before all the teens got up, because we brought 5 of them from our church, and just on my devotions. And as I was doing them, the Lord was like, "You're coming." Is that quick, that clear? And I was like, okay, that's a pretty big thing. So I just said, well, let me take 3 days just to think over this and make sure. I mean, just take your family of 7 across the road just because. So I was like, all right. So I waited 3 days, and my pastor. I just wanted to see if the burden went away from me, and it didn't. So then my pastor came in one day, and while the teens were going to go swimming, and I said, hey, I want to talk to you. I think God wants me to come here. And when I told him that, he just smiled. He's like, man, he's like, I saw this coming. And he said, you know what's weird is the day before, or just the night before, the missionaries, the brewers, who have been here about 37 years, they asked him if our church could send us here. And so, which is ironic, because my prayer to the Lord was, well, I need you to do 4 things. You know, I put out 4 fleeces. I was like, I want to see 4 things happen to know I'm coming here, because I loved where I worked. And, you know, I miss my church now, and I'm loving this as well, but I loved the people I was serving with and got to know them very well, and I fit in and enjoyed it. So, you know, it wasn't like I was running away from anything. And so I asked for 4 things. I wanted my pastor to be on board. I wanted myself to stay on board. I wanted the missionaries to be on board, because the Lord made it to me as if I were to be here with them, training and all that stuff. And then my wife. And so 3 of those fell right away after 3 days, like boom, boom, boom. So we decided to take 3 months and just pray about the situation, make sure that nothing changed on his side, my side, my wife's side, all that. And so we did. It took 3 months. And in those 3 months, I mean, you know, just a number of things happened that were kind of like, I liken it to Hansel and Gretel, how they dropped the breadcrumbs around the trail.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just things kept happening that were just confirming, you're supposed to come here, to the point to where it was like, if we don't come, we'd be sinning. Like, that's how clear it became to me. We need to go. And again, I had every reason not to go. And so the Lord just kept on putting things in my path. People brought up Brazil. Random things came up like that, just out of nowhere. Never came up before. And so we were like, okay, this is obviously the Lord. So in October we surrendered, and then we had to come up with an exit strategy. And so we came up with January. So they gave me 3 months. We sold our house. We sold a vehicle. We put all of our stuff in storage, and got all of our tickets, and how all that worked out was a miracle too. Just where our stuff is stored, where we got to stay when we sold our house, how fast our house sold, their ticket price is just, it was amazing. So the Lord even during the process made it more clear that we were supposed to come here, and so we've been here a month and just adapting and fitting in and working on the language and learning how to serve and learning the culture is so different than America. You cannot come here with an American mindset. It just messes everything up. So it is weird trying to think differently, and not just talk differently, but think differently. So
Sure.
that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Sure. Well, awesome. And so you're now standing outside. I got to see this a little bit during our test. Can you just do a quick
I'm standing outside.
panorama of what's around you?
Yeah. This is kind of Main Street is down that way. And you see this grass and this nice property, and that's only because the brewer, he's kept it all that way. Literally, I put my drone up about 1,000 feet since there's no restrictions, there's no FAA here, so I put it up 1,000 feet, and I'm looking over the city of Itapua, and it's just brown, and there's like patches of green, and it's just like rocks and brown and dirt and just poverty. And then you see in the corner of the city this green compound with 2 pools, because he has a camp he runs here, and it's like an oasis in the middle of it. And so although where I'm at right now looks kind of nice, when you go further down out, it's pretty poverty stricken area.
Sure.
So
Sure.
that's where I'm at. I'm in a small rural city in Rondônia, which is in the northern part of Brazil.
Okay.
So everybody knows Rio and Sao Paulo and all those places. Those are all over on the south, and those are over on the coast. We're in the middle area. Matter of fact, today when we were driving around, Brother Brewer and I went to Edikami's. It's a city an hour away or so. He was telling me that where we're at, Rondônia, was a place where the government would send officials that weren't doing a good job.
So it was kind of the
So like it was just baseline for the longest time.
Sure.
And so it's transitioning. Yeah.
Sure. Awesome. Real quick, if those that are watching, listening, especially on Facebook or so, if you wouldn't mind just commenting, let me know how the quality is, the sound quality and all of that. I know the video is a little bit choppy, but if you can maybe give me a 5 out of 10, or if you can barely hear it, a 2 out of 10. I don't want to belabor anything if people can't hear well at all. So let me know that if you would. It's hard to tell what they're listening to. But so you're there with a veteran missionary. You are you're there for about 3 months or so, and then what's the plan after that?
The plan after this is to go back, and we'll land back in Florida, and then we'll take a week just to kind of recover, and then we're gonna hit the road and start deputation.
Okay, very cool.
So
awesome, and so that will be. I guess first of all,
get back.
Go ahead. No, what I was going to say was okay. Well, what I was going to say was the currency you mentioned and conversion rate and how much you need to survive there is very low compared to a lot of parts of the world. But talk to us about that and how you're able to go kind of straight from one place to jump over without deputation to be there for 3 months and the financial strictures that puts on you.
Yeah, well, I don't know if my situation is unique in a couple ways. Number one, I have an awesome church, South Florida Baptist Church. It's great, and they're supporting us at a great amount temporarily until we can get back and do that. So that is one reason why we're able to be here. Second is because, second is just some people.
Very cool.
Another reason why we're able to be here so cheap for now is because we get to stay here for free. I mean, we're rent free. The water is free here. He has a massive well that comes to these properties, so we can use that. Propane is cheap. Electric is not cheap, but a lot of stuff is run off propane because of that. And we live in a more poor town, and so and beans or something to meat, instead of reconnecting. And
yeah.
So
good.
Our standard of living isn't amazing, but it's not terrible.
Sure.
And it's only for 3 months, and then when we go back, now we couldn't stay here, and done because we don't have.
Well, I think I'm losing him. Well, let's see here if it's going to come back. For those that have stuck around for a few minutes, I greatly appreciate it. I know it's been a little bit of a just trudging through with a connection. Let's see if it comes back. What we might do is, can you hear me now?
No.
Hear me now? Testing 1 2 3. Let's see here. Get a face full of me. That's great. Let me throw this over so you can see. Micah McCurry Loud number 10 with Mike Schmidt. Let's see if it'll work. I appreciate so much those that have stuck around. What we might do is we might wait until he is back in the good old US of A and see if he can get together with us then. Let's see here. Well, I'll take a moment here while it's ringing. You can hear it. Oh, are you back?
All right, yeah.
You're good. You're good. Let's see if it's gonna work here.
I hear you now.
Okay.
I'm holding my phone. I don't know if it will help. I don't know if I'm covering up the bars or something.
No, you're good. So you actually, I'm just gonna go and throw you over on the screen. It's you're actually sideways right now, and so it's it's all good. There you go. Yep, that's perfect right there. There you go. That works.
Done.
Perfect. Okay. Awesome. Well, Brother Schmidt, I greatly appreciate you pushing through. And those that have been listening on, I greatly appreciate that. I'll end with just 1 or 2 more questions. And what we'll do is we'll need to set you back up for when you come back to the States. And we can make it happen when you have some American internet to run off of. And so we were talking, we were trying to, it took us a good 45 minutes to even try to attempt this. And so it was a battle. But I think you said you have something like 1 meg download speed. Is that right?
Yeah, it goes between like 800 kilobytes to 1 megabyte.
Okay, and so
and it's
yeah. So I mean that if we put that in perspective for those that have no idea about internet speeds and all that. At my house, I have 100 down, and that's the lowest option for internet.
Insane.
Right, so 100 down and like I want to say 10 or 20 up, which is what allows me to normally do the interviews, and so that's literally 100-fold more. And so, but anyway, you know what? We're making it work. So I really, really appreciate it. For those that might have just tuned in, might have missed or something like that, you're listening to Brother Mike Schmidt talk about his burden for Brazil, and talk about the Lord leading him there. Now you have wife, some kids. How many kids do you have, Brother Schmidt?
5 kids.
5 kids. Awesome. And what's the breakdown, boys and girls?
3 boys. Caleb is not. Sorry, can you hear me?
No, go ahead.
9-year-old, 7-year-old, 6-year-old. Those are the boys, and then a 4-year-old and 2-year-old. Those are the girls.
Okay, very cool. So just knock all the guys out at the beginning, and so that way they can fight it out.
Well, we were going for more guys, but it didn't happen. So now we got girls.
You were trying for the
against girls. We wanted one more boy to make it like a duet thing.
Sure. My I know what the 3 brothers is like. Speaking of, happy birthday! Shout out to my brother Ethan. You know him obviously. His birthday today,
right.
And so that's awesome.
That's awesome.
But brother, I know I'm repeating myself, but I really do appreciate you taking the time. You're an hour ahead of us, I believe. So it's 6 o'clock here. So it's 7 o'clock there. What the country of Brazil, huge country. I think we hear Brazil, and
it's the 5th largest nation.
Right, and by landmass. What's the from top to bottom, or give us some idea of how big it is? Maybe compare it to Texas or something like that. How big is Brazil?
Oh man, I don't know. I haven't studied some of those facts about Brazil.
It's fine.
Those kind of things. I've just been literally working on the language every day.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I know that when you, they talk about a globe and the equator and things that are closer to the equator look much smaller than those even further away. And Brazil still looks pretty large, sitting right there near the equator. And obviously it's a huge. You mentioned Sao Paulo being a couple thousand miles away, right?
Yeah. Okay. It's quite a distance, and
sure.
There's only one highway that connects the Rondônia, pretty much. Just one highway. You can't get lost. You just get on the highway and you end up in towns.
Sure.
So,
very cool.
That's cool.
Very cool. So you're planning on what is your date for flying back into the States?
April 14th.
April 14th. Awesome. Now you're going to be starting deputation. So if there are any pastors or anything that happen to watch this far and trudge through with us and listen this far, would love for you to contact Brother Schmidt. What would be the best way for someone to contact you about possibly having you into their church?
Sure. We have a website. It's schmidtsobrazil.com, and that's SHMIDTS, the number 2, and then Brazil.com, and that have all of our information on there.
Awesome. And are you going to be working when you come back to Brazil? Are you going to be working in the same general area as the missionaries you're with now?
Yeah. Matter of fact, the missionary we're working with now, the couple we're working with, like I said, they've been over here for 37 years, so they're around their 70s. And so what we're praying about right now is a transition. If I were to come in and assume the work that they've built here and continue to build. They have Bible Institute here. They have a campground that they run, and they bring in families for that and train people. They've started churches, and so that's kind of what we're looking at. Of course, we're praying about it. We both are praying about it, and it's not set in stone.
Sure.
I think we both want it to be, but we're seeking the Lord's face about it because it makes sense the way the Lord burdened our heart and where they're at, and what we can do and know kind of all goes together like a glove,
Sure.
hand in glove.
Very cool. Now, one last question.
We will for sure be being mentored here.
Awesome. Now, one last question, and we'll let you go. And I want to make this happen again when we can understand each other well.
Yeah.
We talked for just a few moments in our pre-interview on Tuesday about the language and about how easy and you said yourself not because you're some just savant with languages and you speak 9 or 10 of them. So why, compared to other missionaries even 10 years ago, especially 20 and 30 years ago, what's the difference for you?
Okay, well, I definitely don't want to overgeneralize.
Sure.
Or not generalize anybody, because I think each language is different, each opportunity is different. But for us, I have found I've met with a handful of missionaries already and talked to them over the phone. Some have come up to Hondonia at Tapua and met with us, and we talked at length, a couple hours over the language. And because how it typically is you come to a place and you spend a year, maybe 2 at most, learning the language. You go down to a special city, to a school, you rent a place, and you just go through the language, and it costs lots of money. And on my survey trip, what I've been trying to do is get to the point to where I was, somewhat fluent. I knew the grammar. I understood a lot of verbs. So that way when I got back, I can say, hey, when I get back here, I'm going to be hit the ground running. I can teach a Sunday school class at least.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of spending a year in Sao Paulo, spending thousands of dollars renting a place, paying for school. And so I just was looking for the first 2 weeks at how to get a hand on the language. And of course, there's tons of people online that would teach you, and you don't know if they really know what they're talking about, especially if it's language you don't know. So you got to be careful. But I was able to find a couple resources that are, I don't know what they consider it, but they're accredited, they're rated to be by the European Framework of Language. They're recognized by them. And so I enrolled in those, and you have a daily schedule, homework, and I think I paid $150 for 1 year. I got a coupon, 50% off. You always look for coupons. It would have been $300, but I got it for $150, and I get a teacher who I will do exercises. I will submit them in written form, and then I will speak them and submit them, and then she will message me back audio, and she'll correct anything. You didn't pronounce your R right. It's ehi. It's not R. So she'll tell me you're not doing that right, and so I'm getting input. And then there's been a couple people here in the church that I meet with, trying to make it weekly, but the schedules are crazy here. Schedules do not work here. It's insane. So we try to meet weekly, and I just go over verbs. I say eu falo, ele fala. I spoke, she spoke, and you just go over the verbs and conjugate, and then he'll just be like this or bad, and then he'll say it for me, and like, okay, that's how you make that sound. And so what's neat, when I was talking to the missionaries, and we were going over, where I've gotten so far just in a month. And again, I'm not a super genius, but I'm spending 3-4 hours a day just going over, trying to memorize it, using flashcard things on a computer, the Enki program, and this teacher and the courses. And so in all, I'm probably going to end up spending, $400 when it's all said and done on the language stuff that I bought, the grammar book. And I've probably spent, 4 hours times 30 so far on the language. So a lot of hours, but, I'm progressing to the point to where when I get back, it's going to be rough a little bit, but I'll have the basic foundation to where the other guys are saying, you're probably not going to have to go to language school at all, which is going to save lots of money.
Sure. And
lots of time of me being what I would, say, inactive, so to
right.
say. And so I think in the day and age we live in, a lot of the guys that are over here, they've been here 15 years or more. And they didn't have internet. They didn't have these programs that are out there. And so I think things are changing to where if we're smarter and more frugal and we will take time to look for it, we can get similar results for way cheaper. And that's
sure.
a good, less burden on the churches. And when I was talking to the one guy about the credibility of all this, he said, I have a guy in my church right now that speaks fluent English. You would not even know that he hadn't been from America, and he's learned everything from YouTube and going online. And so, you know, and so at this point, if I come back here, I can still continue to work on the language. I can minister, make visits, and get corrected by the people as I mess up and I speak. But I'll still be doing ministry as opposed to, you know, being locked up in some place and spending $1,200 a month on rent in a not a good city and all that stuff. I can be in a ministry and continue to work on the language because, honestly, I mean, the people know that I don't know language, and they're not French. They don't get offended at you if you try to speak their language. They love that you're trying it. And the other day, a lady said, you know, do you like fish? It's peixe. And I was like, yeah, see. And she's like, you understood. She didn't say understood, but she said it in Portuguese. She got so excited about that. And so, you know, Brazilians are very supportive. You know, I don't want to generalize every nation, every language, every culture. And so I don't know if this is something everybody could do, but I know it's something that works for where I'm at, where I can skip out on a lot of expenses and time, kind of being inactive, so to say.
Very nice. It's huge, and I hope that there are missionaries that might be on deputation that might catch a clip of this, and I'll probably clip out part of that there just for folks that might be, because a lot of times we get caught in, you know, this is the way I was told to do it. This is the way they did it 30 years ago. And we're talking about, you know, we're just talking about learning language. We're not talking about doctrine. We're not talking about theology. We're not talking about changing anything. Just talking about learning a language and doing it a little bit smarter, a little bit more efficiently, saving a little bit of money. And when it comes to ministry, that's always a good idea.
Just efficiently.
Right, exactly. And so I think for you guys, that obviously it's huge because, like you said, that could save churches supporting you $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 over a year or two. It's saving you a whole year, and obviously you'd be able to minister in some fashion, being in language school, even in passing out tracts and things like that, even though barely speaking language. But to be able to go boots on the ground from day one and just go hard, charging, that's awesome. Well, here we are sitting a little bit under half an hour, and so this will be by far one of the shorter conversations we've had. But I think for everyone's sanity, I think what we'll do is we're going to plan on, we'll look at your schedule, look at my schedule coming up here, April, May time frame or so, and definitely put on the books and talk a little bit more in depth because I think there's a lot more to talk about. And but I do appreciate you taking the time, and those that have watched, are watching. It's been
absolutely. I'd be game for that. I just want to be a help.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I appreciate the investment you've made in my family for my parents and for my brother. And so that's been I know obviously he speaks very highly of you, and so we appreciate that. But any last words, anything you'd like to say, folks at home or otherwise, before we go off the air?
Any last words? Just walk with God every day. Honestly, that's how I got here. Honestly, doing my devotions in the morning, and that's how God gave me the next step in my life. And you know, it's devotions are not they are a simple thing and not a simple thing. They're part of the heart of the Christian to be in the Word of God, and it's where you're changed from glory to glory. And so, do your devotions, because you know what? Although this was a change I would never have picked from objectively, now that I'm in it and transitioning, like I love it.
Amen.
And that's another reason why I want to avoid language school, so I can get back to these people and minister and grow with them.
Amen.
You know, and so now my heart is completely over here, and I wouldn't have it in any other way.
Sure.
But I have it from devotions.
Right.
So do your devotions.
Amen. Amen. Well, that's good for church members, young, old, middle-aged, everybody. That will work for everybody. Right. So I appreciate it. If there's any pastors watching, you need to support Mike Schmidt. So have him into your church. Get a hold of him. The Schmitz2Brazil.com. Talk to him. Get a hold of him before he snatch him up, because I'm sure he'll be a hot commodity when he comes back to the States. So get a hold of him. Brother Schmidt, I greatly appreciate it. Stick around for just a second, and we'll go off air here. Thank you so much to those that took the time to listen in, and we'll talk to you again soon. Micah McCurry live. We have some cool and interesting things coming up with different things we're starting on the program. We'll talk